Back in 2006, I got married, left my work, and moved away from my home and family to live near Oxford, where my husband worked. I was happy to be with him, but it was a difficult time. I knew nobody there. I had burnout from previous trauma and couldn't work, and I missed my family very much. Around 2008, I stumbled upon the online church, St. Pixel's, and began the wonderful discovery of how much friendship and warmth and encouragement is to be found in online communities. For one thing, they are international. Anyone who couldn't sleep because of chronic pain or anxiety or just wakefulness could wander into St. Pixel's through the church porch and hope to find someone also awake because they lived in Florida or Queensland and had come in to pass the time with friends. There is phenomenal strength in online networks of friendship, and one of the things I've found striking about them is how many of the people I've met online have low incomes, disabilities of one kind or another, live with neurological challenges or anxiety or depression, or are housebound by chronic illness or caring for somebody at home. But you wouldn't know. They are interesting and funny and thoughtful and kind. It's only over time that someone mentions that they've had a fibro flare-up or happens to drop into the conversation something about their social difficulties and inability to leave the house, or their mobility issues, or whatever it might be. I'm saying this because it quite likely applies to you. And if not to you, then certainly to someone you know. So many people find everyday life an uphill struggle. Courage and humour and patience are what get them up in the morning. Now, we're living in times of change and challenge, and we were called to live in these times, like Queen Esther in our reading, who was called to be who she was and where she was for such a time as this. When we look at the challenges facing us, climate change, food scarcity, the rise of fascist politics, the increasing divide between rich and poor, the loss of biodiversity, the devastation of war, the horrors of news stories like the school shooting at Uvalde, it is easy to lose hope. We are tempted to despair. But we came here for such a time as this. We are not here by accident. There are practical and social and political ways of rising to these challenges, but exactly the people of the internet, the netizens, may be the very ones who are too tired, too poor, too stretched by the ordinary demands of daily living to go on marches or run for local government or dig in community gardens or donate anything of significance to help out. Are we, then, of no use? It wouldn't be much of a faith gathering if I said, that's right, we're not, would it? I want to recall to your mind the life and work of Julian of Norwich. She was a person who lived with limitation. She'd been through the exhausting rigours of serious illness. She lived in solitude and voluntary poverty, and she never went out. At all. Like us at the Campfire Church, she joined in with church through a window. Julian was an anchorite, and her little house was what they called an anchor hold. Her work as an anchorite was very specific. She was called to anchor the light into the locality, the neighbourhood, where she lived. Not by social action or community organisation, but just by being an open channel for the love of God to flow through. That's what she did. It was her occupation. It took various visible forms, including praying and listening and writing. But what her work boiled down to was simply anchoring the light. In such a time as this, while we around the campfire are making our earth pilgrimage, something very specific is happening spiritually. The establishment of a web of light for healing and transformation. Netizens understand World Wide Webs. Oh yes, that's what we do. We create webs of community along which kindness and encouragement flow. In such a time as this, we are being asked to dedicate our lives to the work of anchorage, to be anchorites and make the places we live into anchor holds, taking our place in the spiritual web of light forming for the healing and transformation of earth and her people, and anchoring it into the spot where we live. A component of this is what's called mountain moving intercession. The web of light is like a vascular system along which blood flows, bringing nourishment and ferrying away what is toxic for recycling. It needs to be kept open, kept in good condition, running freely. That's why we had those passages in our reading about lift up your heads, O ye gates, and I will go before you and level the mountains, and the true light that is Christ coming into the world. Our job is to hold our part of the light web anchored in place, keeping the pathways open and clear for the transformative glory and healing to stream through. And we do that by integrity in the detail of our lives and relationships, by the choices we make, and by the orientation of our heart's desire, and by praying in the power of Jesus' name, mountain-moving intercession. For this work, we don't need to be clever or rich or well-connected or even physically fit, and just as well, eh? All we need to do is make ourselves available. That thing from the prophecy of Isaiah. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And then I said, "Here am I. Send me." Here am I. In Hebrew, there's a word hineni, that means here I am, a word for showing up, joining in, taking your place. That's all the Lord is looking for, all it needs. Your hineni, your here I am, your willingness to be part of what's needed in such a time as this, so that the web of light forming around the earth may be held in place and kept opening and functioning for the transformation and healing of human society and the well-being of creation. And I think you are well suited for that task.